Unpopular opinion. I don't really want any new Star Wars movies after Episode 9. And no, it's not for the reason that you are probably thinking. Looking ahead at all the upcoming films in the Star Wars franchise has just become a bit exhausting for me. You have the whole trilogy of Rian Johnson films coming up. Benioff and Weiss from Game of Thrones have a series of films coming up. Plus, they just announced that a Boba Fett movie is happening for some reason. Side note, why is everyone so obsessed with Boba Fett? I mean, yeah, he looks cool and he seems like a pretty intimidating figure in Empire, but that's it. He's a cool-looking bounty hunter who ends up dying like a total bitch. This just seems like a whole lot of movies for a series that never really needed a whole lot of movies. All it ever really needed was these. And I am saying all of that as someone who's mostly really enjoyed what Disney has done with the franchise so far. I think the first two films in the sequel trilogy are excellent, and I think the spin-offs are both good, if a bit unnecessary. And I'm not someone who's calling for the firing of Kathleen Kennedy either, because I actually looked into it and know what her filmography consists of. The point I'm trying to make is that I am someone who really likes these movies, and I still don't want to see many more of them. It doesn't make me any less of a true fan, mostly because the concept of a true fan is stupid, as there is no such thing as an untrue fan, but I just think the movie franchise has almost run its course. More is not always better. And here, I'll explain why. We're approaching the final film of the third trilogy, so the saga now has a trilogy of trilogies, if you will. We've seen 3 generations of this family intertwined into 3 history-defining wars. I don't think there's much more that needs to be done here. Bring Rey, Finn, and Poe's story to a satisfying close and then leave them be. In terms of spin-offs, the only one that actually sounds interesting to me is an Obi-Wan movie starring Ewan McGregor between the prequels and the originals. But I'd probably want something way different than what most fans would want, so I'm not sure I even want that. Ultimately, the more movies you make in a series, the less essential each individual film becomes. Currently, each one of the films in the saga holds an incredibly significant role to play in the story of Star Wars as a whole. This is less true for the 2 spin-off films they made, but they still both have their place in the overall arc. If by 2030, at this rate, there would be 22 Star Wars movies, each one would only be a tiny piece of the puzzle and less special than they are now. Nobody gives a shit about zinc. That's because it's ridiculously common on Earth, but people care a whole lot about gold because it's much more rare. When you introduce more currency into circulation, the value of each individual amount drops. And I can hear millions of voices suddenly crying out, but Marvel has many movies and you still like them. Yes, but to you, dear person, I would say that Marvel was built to be an interconnected universe from the very beginning. Star Wars was not. The structure of the MCU is built up to specific event films, like Civil War and Infinity War. The entire Star Wars saga is the event film. Each trilogy is a single story following the 3-act structure and sticking pretty close to the hero's journey. We don't need a Star Wars interconnected cinematic universe. Plus, you have the upcoming Jon Favreau show for the Disney streaming service and a new animated show from Dave Filoni, both taking place between episodes 6 and 7. Maybe that's how you carry the Star Wars brand forward. Ditch the movies, at least for a while. Rian Johnson and Benioff and Weiss all have experience working in TV, from Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones respectively, which just so happen to be 2 of the best television shows of the last 20 years, if not ever. Use their talents there. I don't know why, but having Star Wars continue in media other than movies feels less cluttered and forced to me than pushing the movie series past where it needs to go. Carrying forth the brand through other media seems like the best way to keep Star Wars viable, in my opinion. Bring back LucasArts, maybe. Get rid of these asshats and start making some kick-ass games again. You don't need to move on from Star Wars as a whole, but forcing more movies just for the sake of money will tank one of the most valued series in film history. That's going to do it for me this week. Let me know if you guys agree with me, though. Do you like the idea of Star Wars movies coming out from now until whenever, or do you think Star Wars should be a more finite thing with only a select few movies to tell their stories? Either way, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Have an awesome week, everybody.